Next up, we got another video from Mr. Nightmare. Three disturbing real basement horror stories. Let's ride. What, man? Let's get to it then.
When my grandparents passed away, instead of my parents selling our house, they just let me live in it instead since I was of moving out age anyway. I just had to pay the taxes and monthly expenses. At first I really enjoyed living alone, given that I could have whoever I wanted over whenever I wanted. But it quickly got lonely being alone, so I got myself a 2-year-old German Shepherd dog named Rocky. He was named after Rocky Balboa. Rocky's a very calm and gentle German Shepherd. He hardly ever barks, only when he feels threatened or if he's playing with another dog. I bought him a doggy bed the day after I adopted him and put it next to my bed. After I got Rocky, I always left the bedroom door open so that he could go get water at night if he were thirsty. One night soon after I adopted Rocky, I woke up to his barking coming from outside my room and down the hallway. I dizzily got out of bed to check what the hell he was barking at. I rubbed my eyes as I walked down the hallway, and when I opened them, I saw Rocky maniacally barking and clawing at the basement door. I didn't know what to do. Usually I'd call my dad to deal with something like this, but now it was on me, and I was terrified. I had to ask myself if I wanted Rocky to go down there with me, and I quickly realized there was no chance of me going down there alone. I opened the door ever so lightly, but it was enough for Rocky to push it open with his nose and run down the stairs. I flipped on the lights and followed close behind. Rocky was silent now, which I found a bit concerning. I looked around for him, calling his name, and then I saw him standing still, with his tail between his legs, looking up at something in an opposite corner of the room that was blocked by a wall. Rocky looked at me, and his tail slightly raised as I approached him. I could now see what he was looking at. It was a closet door. Rocky's apparent bout of confidence was obviously short-lived, and he seemed to be back to his calm and timid self. All that was passing through my mind at that moment was, do I dare open this closet door right now? And who or what could be in there? I didn't know Rocky too well just yet, but I had a feeling he wouldn't attack whoever or whatever was in there. I'm still not sure whether I made the right move or not, but instead of opening that closet door, I took Rocky by the collar and walked with him back upstairs. He kept looking back at the corner of the basement until we got to the stairs. I shut the basement door and then dragged him back to my bedroom and shut the bedroom door. Then I went to the kitchen to call my dad. I had to call 3 times before he finally picked up in a groggy voice. I explained the situation and asked him what I should do. He said I should go back down there with a huge knife or some kind of weapon and see what's in the closet. I told him I was too scared to, and somewhere deeper into that conversation with my dad, I realized the basement door was open. I put the phone down for a second to listen to what I thought were footsteps, and I was right. Loud and clear were footsteps heading towards the front door. I ran to my bedroom and told my dad. He told me to hang up the phone and call the cops, and so I did. By the time the cops showed up, though, whoever was in the house was obviously gone already. Unfortunately, I left a large amount of cash down there by the bar. All of it was gone. The basement window was wide open, so we found the method of entry pretty quickly. Just turned out to be a break-in burglary when I happened to be home. This story took place just 2 weeks ago. I've always had a fear of basements since I was a kid. Now that I'm 18, my fear is obviously subdued a little bit, but I still will glance over my shoulder to any noise I may hear behind me. And I might get that slight butterfly in my stomach feeling when I'm alone. Well, on this cold Friday night, I was home alone, and since our biggest TV is in the basement, that's where I'd usually chill, especially to play video games. I was playing Fortnite with my friends, some crazy popular first-person shooter game. I had headphones in and I was
better.
really invested in the game.
For real.
Yet even over the loud sound effects through the headphones, I knew I heard something come from behind me, like a thump. I took off the headphones and examined the back of the basement.
Heck yeah, right.
Now our basement is
Playing the
huge, but
game,
also
boy, don't do
extremely cluttered and messy. If I wanted to actually thoroughly examine what's behind me, I'd have to get up, that's how bad it is. But I didn't feel that were necessary. Yeah, I found it a bit unsettling any time I heard a noise, but I really didn't think it was anything to be concerned about. I tried to continue playing, however I wasn't able to give my full focus anymore.
Yeah,
That was part of me constantly thinking about the noise. I took off the headphones and played with them off just because I was feeling extra paranoid and wanted to hear my surroundings. Shortly after taking off the headset, there was a sudden clank sound, and it had a metallic, echoey ringing to it.
Oh, no.
I turned off the system now because I was in shock. This was an intentional sound made by someone or something. I walked really, really slowly to the backside of the basement. When I laid eyes on the big metal air vent in the corner, that's when it hit me, that was most likely the source of the sound. I got as close as I felt comfortable, then stopped and just looked at the air vent for a second. I got a terrible, painful feeling in my stomach, and I felt like the life was literally being drained out of me when I saw a hand reach out from the air vent and start waving me over. Then a deep, raspy voice said, "Come here, I need help." At first, I didn't run. I just gradually stepped backwards with my mouth hung open, looking at the vents. The person's hands gripped the vent and started shaking it aggressively, obviously trying to break it open. I screamed, "I'm calling the cops," but the shaking didn't stop. I did what I said. I called the cops and told them to send someone right away. The operator told me to go to a room upstairs with a weapon, lock the door, and hide.
That shit looks.
I was the most scared I'd ever been in my entire life.
At night.
And the pain and fear of the situation only became worse when I heard a door bust open downstairs, and I could hear a maniac screaming at the top of his lungs. I'm not lying when I said he was screaming things like, "Where are you? I'm gonna kill you." I heard him run up the stairs. He probably ran up 2 stairs for every step, because he was up the stairs in like 3
Come
seconds.
here if you want to, bitch.
My heart was in my throat when he tried the doorknob to the door, and started pounding on it so hard I could see the door caving in a little bit. I thought he was actually gonna break the door down. I had to climb out the window or I'd be a goner. I think he heard me though, because the banging stopped. I jumped from the window to the bushes below, and with the right stroke of luck, a cop car pulled up in front of my house. I basically ran into the officer's arms, begging them to go inside and get the man. They told me to wait in the police car, which they locked, while they both went inside the house with their guns drawn. Not even 5 minutes later, the 2 officers came out, and they were holding the man in cuffs. The man in cuffs took my place in the back seat of the cop car, and from that moment, until the cops drove away, he was giving me the most evil, hate-filled stare you could ever imagine. That stare
move
still haunts me.
That move,
The whole experience still haunts
When you
me.
look back at what that junk,
I still hang out in the
you chill,
basement
like you looking at
occasionally,
you like,
but nowhere
yeah,
near
I'm
as
gonna
much.
come back and do something to you. You feel me? Anyway, third story.
The story I'm about to tell you is a series of blurry memories from when I was a little kid, and we were living in our old house. My brother and I always hung out in the basement where our dad has his hockey table, pool table, and video games. We usually played on his Super Nintendo system, but at some point, I don't remember when it started, my brother and I would hear things come from the boiler/laundry room. The first time this happened, though, my brother and I were playing some racing game on Super Nintendo. That was when we both heard it. The door to the dryer slammed shut. We knew that's what the sound was. We both called out, "Mom," figuring maybe she'd been in there the whole time without us realizing.
Yep.
But the room was dark and empty of any people. When we realized this, we both ran upstairs screaming for our parents, leaving everything downstairs still on. Our parents came down to humor what they probably thought was just our dumb childish antics, and nobody was in the laundry room.
Think that if you want.
Moving along probably a few months, I was awake late one night for whatever reason, walking to the kitchen, passing the basement door, and remember hearing the TV downstairs turn on. It was one of those big old box TVs, so it made that distinct clicking sound as it turned on. I called Mom, Dad, and my brother's name. No one answered. I went to my parents' room to tell them, and they were both upset with me for waking them. My dad went downstairs to turn off the TV, and I remember him telling me it's a glitchy TV. There were a couple other suspicious happenings after that, but I'll move forward all the way to the last occurrence, and honestly the most horrific. It was a few days before we were going to move to our new house. Just about everything in the house was already shipped to the new house, but our parents were nice and let us keep the TV and video games downstairs until the last few days. My brother and I were once again playing video games. That's when I felt something hit me in the back of the head. I thought it was my brother at first, but then saw the red ball bouncing on the ground behind the couch we were on. Then the door to the boiler room slowly shut as my brother and I looked at each other with horrified looks on our faces. Once again, we ran upstairs screaming. Our parents once again went downstairs, but when they came back up, they were strangely silent. They told us to go to our rooms and wait there. A while later, a police car showed up, but our parents wouldn't let us out of our rooms. They wouldn't tell us what happened until we finally moved. Apparently my dad tried to open the boiler room door, but something was holding it shut, or perhaps pulling it shut. Even so long ago, I could sense fear in my dad's voice explaining it. I don't believe in ghosts, but to this day, I still don't know what to make of what was going on in that basement.
Alright, man, that was a video from Mr. Nightmare. Make sure y'all go check out the original video down below, man. Road to 200. Let's ride.
Tell the feeling like I'm trapped in my damn mind. Tell the feeling like I'm rapping a damn lie. Tell the feeling like my life is a damn game. Nigga really wanna die in the nighttime. Only time I feel pain when I'm feeling love. That's why I said it on my face that I'm down on. Only time you come my mind when I'm all alone. That's why I'm never really alone in the nighttime. Change hoes like clothes, I can get attached. Cause these hoes 5 starters like lit matches. I've been feeling really lost, looking all attachments. I don't really go outside cause I hate traffic. I don't wanna go outside, get caught in traffic.